Welcome, everyone, back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are doing Words of Radiance, chapters 25 through to 28. In these chapters, fucking horses. Yes. Man, how many of you were laughing at us about that one? Yeah, Kaladin goes for a fucking pony ride. So do all his crew. He gets thrown off by the biggest, meanest, ugliest one of the bunch because Adolin dared him to. Speaking of Adolin, he then goes on a bridge run, and he finds out that even though he helps out quite a lot, people still don't like him and his dad and what they're doing, so he's like, this is a waste of bloody time. There's a quick flashback for Shallan to her childhood and her drunken brother, who's just like, I'm the only one who's sane around here, which, okay, keep telling yourself that, buddy. And then Shallan does some of her acting when they come across Kaladin at the edge of the Shattered Plains and manages to steal his shoes. Yes. I'm Dak, and with me this week is
Jamie,
Joe,
and Data.
All right, so strap in. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
So yeah, 4 chapters, and the monsters were not the people all along, but they were the horses all along. So Dak got to do an intro. I'm sure he's very excited. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
Well, yes, the horses brought me great joy, and as something that started as a complete throwaway, haha, this is hilarious. I nearly died when that turned out to be the actual thing. So that was pretty funny. Yes, more training here. Obviously, we know Kaladin got back on the horse after this training session. So I'm so funny. It worked well. I guess the training's going well. I like that we got to see Eshonai again. So that's going to start to get interesting, which is pretty cool. The other thing that brought me great joy was having finally Shallan and Kaladin meet. Not at all how I expected it to go, but I'm pleased that it's happened, and I really look forward to the next time they meet, because we obviously know they're going to. So that's going to be super fun. I'm expecting Dak to have some feelings on Moash after what we learnt as well, so I'm quite looking forward to that. Yeah, I still feel like we're setting the scene a lot at the moment, but it feels like things are about to start moving very soon.
It's totally true about we're just waiting for the next time they meet now, because Shallan's like, well, hopefully I won't ever meet those soldiers again. Yeah, sure.
100% you're going to. I also can't wait for them to tell Rock about the experience, because Rock will spot it straight away. That's no horn eater. Yeah, quite fun. Yeah, I don't like Tin.
Oh, you're not a fan? Yeah, you weren't really a fan of her last time either, to be fair. But
no.
What if Rock had been with the group when they ran into her? That would have been awkward.
Super awkward. And probably wouldn't have worked. And then they're being turned away because clearly she's not who she says she is. And
she wouldn't have gotten any boots.
No boots.
Yeah, from what I've read of these chapters, I really like them. That's a joke nobody will get. But no, it was good stuff. The horses thing, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek for us, because we're like, oh my gosh, that's totally what we said. But I feel like we've got confirmation now, right? He must not like horses. Like, something happened to him in Utah as a kid, and he doesn't like horses. I feel like that has to be the thing.
100%.
Like, come on, guy. I feel like somebody did you say that somebody's asked him about horses in a panel thing, and what did he say?
We read the thing. In fact, somebody posted it. It's funny because somebody in the Discord was like, "Hey, when you start doing the next episode, will you like build up the horse thing and make a thing of it and see about the monsters and see what they say." And I was like, yeah, we've actually already recorded that, so you will see how that goes. But as part of that conversation, somebody did post the question and answer in the Discord. Let me bring it up. Somebody said, "Do you by any chance suffer from hippophobia, which is the fear of horses?"
Right.
And Brandon says, "I don't, but I'm not terribly fond of them either. They've been mean to me when I've ridden them."
Yeah. So there you go. He's not a
Fucking knew
horse guy. Yeah. Like yeah. I mean, it's goofy, but it's also funny at the same time. So
Yeah. I mean, we've been calling that for what, years now?
yeah, since the second Mistborn book, I believe,
Yeah.
when she like destroys that horse.
She destroys several horses, I think, is when it came up, because she like is trying to help Breeze escape back to the city, and she like pushes their horseshoes or something and knocks like a whole bunch of them down. You guys are like, "Oh my gosh, she's so mean to those horses," and I was like, "I've never noticed that before, but now that you mention it."
It's like, that's a recurring theme.
She does not like the horses. Yeah, and so, his characters are an extension of him in a way, so we know, like, yeah, he doesn't like those horses. And so we've got that piece. We've got the Adolin stuff. I mean, we kind of already knew this, right? Like, it seemed pretty obvious to us that people don't want Dalinar and Adolin to succeed. So, and it's no surprise that Sidious is behind the dual attempts failing. And so I don't think any of us were surprised to be reading that. As far as the boots go, I mean, did Shallan pull one over on Kaladin? I guess. But I don't know. But
So
we'll see.
Maybe she was really a horn-eater princess. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, maybe Kaladin bought it. Maybe he didn't. I mean, I assume he bought it. But
Okay.
yeah. But we'll find out, I guess, what's going to happen. It's exciting that she's that close to the Shattered Plains. But like, my question is, like, at what point does she drop 10, or does she drop 10? Like, what is the game plan with all that? Because I'm with Jamie. 10's a no-go for me. So like, I just don't understand what she's going to get out of a continued like association with this person. I can understand not wanting to show your cards, so you kind of play it off like, yeah, I'm trying to con people, because you don't want to show all your cards to this person whose mercy you could be at. Totally understand that. But it just seems strange. Like, I just don't know how that relationship is going to benefit Shallan in the long run, or like, I just think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea to keep associating with her. So I'm excited though to see what happens next, especially if Shallan's about to get to the Shattered Plains. That means all of our major players besides Yasna will be together in one place. So that would be very interesting. Well, I guess Seth, if you count Seth as a major player, he's not there that we know of. He could be there. We don't know.
He's supposed to be heading there, so maybe.
Yeah, he's supposed to be going there, but we don't know if he's there yet. But yeah, so that should be fun. We don't know. He could be in Shallan's troop with those people. We don't know.
It seems like Tin is like a professional criminal. She could be a dangerous sort of person. So you make an interesting point. It's like, when and how does Shallan end this relationship? I don't know that any of us sees Tin continuing like taking Shallan, and Shallan is her sidekick for the rest of the story. So
right.
Like,
yeah.
Where do we go?
Tin might also be exactly where she wants to be. So yeah.
Maybe Shallan will make Tin her sidekick, and that's how I don't know how that would happen. I'm just
yes. So decent amount going on. I like seeing Adolin in action. I think this book's giving us a lot more to go off with Adolin, so I'm enjoying that side of him. It seems obvious that people are down on him and Dalinar, but it was still kind of harsh to see it from his perspective for someone he counted as a very good friend.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I felt for the guy. Horse bit, we don't need to belabor that point. It was funny. Having just spoken about Adolin, I did think it was kind of the whole, thanks for not telling my dad I dared you to ride the mean horse thing. I'm like, hey, come on, Adolin, I'm trying to give you a bone here. Otherwise, the flashback chapter was kind of short, not really needed to happen, but just cementing the fact that aside from Big Brother Shardblade, like, Shallan's brothers suck. God, it's like, he's the worst kind of drunk. The self-righteous one. Fuck off, dude. Nah, screw these guys. And yeah, I'm with the others. Tin is bad news. I don't know what her angle is, but she's up to something, and she's going to be using Shallan to get it. And I'm not about it. Once I twigged that they'd finally met up with Kaladin, I'm just like, oh yes, cool, here we go. And then their confrontation obviously was not the best. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun because they're going to meet up, and Kaladin's going to be like, he might just keep it under his hat. Like, he won't say anything to Shallan. And then he's just going to come back to the fire. He's like, hey, Rock, I need you to join my patrol group tomorrow. And Rock's like, I'm not going to fight. It's like, I don't need you to fight. I just need you to fuck with a woman who pretended to be a Horn Eater. And Rock will just be like, someone dared impersonate one of my noble race? Oh, fuck. No, buddy.
I love that picture. That's great.
Yeah, I love the idea of like Rock just going, someone pretending to be a Horn Eater? This aggression will not stand. And then he just comes in and he just fucks with Shallan as much as possible. So yeah, it's not how I saw the Kaladin Shallan relationship going, but I'm here for it. I like to see the whole, yeah, you're a fucking liar, aren't you? Oh god, here we go. You sound like my spren.
It's true.
Yep.
I don't know if Kaladin is the kind of person to keep something like that under his hat. Usually the problem with him is that he doesn't know when to shut up.
I mean, yeah, but like you think about Dalinar's reaction when he told him about Amaram. He's like, what possible gain is there for me to tell people? Yeah, this woman lied about being a Horn Eater princess at the outskirts. Like, also, who's gonna fucking care once she gets to camp and reveals who she is? So Kaladin's just have to sit on that one and just be like, you lied to me.
Plot my revenge.
Yep.
I also like the you have a good point that Adolin is getting more to play with in this book, which gives us a better, because last book he was pretty much just, he was the guy who doubted Dalinar, and that was kind of all that they gave him. And because we didn't doubt Dalinar, it's like, dude, you need to, other than like he dates a lot of women. That was I guess that was the one other personality trait they gave him. So he's getting some depth this book, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like, he's still far from a perfect character, but I mean, who among them is? But we're getting to see more sides of him, and I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, it's nice. And you call out Shallan's flashback being short. I think all of the flashbacks have been pretty short to this point.
I guess, but the others were more like had more going on. You know, like one had like all the bodies lying on the floor. The other had Big Brother coming back with his shard blade and telling his dad his days were numbered.
That's true.
Big stuff. In this one, it's just drunky brother shooting his mouth off.
And Shallan stares at walls for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. All right, let's get into these chapters, y'all. Chapter 25 is Monsters. And the epigraph is from the Listener Song of Histories this time, and it's about smoke form. For hiding and slipping between men, a form of power like human surges. Though crafted by gods, it was by unmade hand. Though crafted of gods, it was by unmade hand. Leaves its force to be but one of foe or friend. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I mean, this form sounds so fucking cool, whatever it is.
Yeah, it makes me think of like it's a spy sort of thing where you just turn into smoke and slip in there.
Yeah.
And so Kaladin, it starts out with Kaladin's, his thought process is kind of it's trying to be very unspecific. He's just like, man, I've been in a lot of weird situations in my life. I've been a slave and a surgeon. I never expected to be in a situation like this, though, so utterly disconcertingly unfamiliar. And he's like, you want me to what? We have 2 paragraphs of Kaladin like waxing poetic about what's going on, and then Dalinar's like, I want you to get on the horse.
Yeah. It's kind of uncharacteristic, I feel like, of Kaladin in general. Just like, okay, where's all this inner monologue coming from? Whatever.
Brandon really had to build up to it for you.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? It's a horse. Isn't that a hoot? Like, okay.
Just making it clear that getting on horses ain't fucking natural.
Yeah.
Not like getting on a chull. That's completely 100% normal.
Riding a crab, I'd do it every day if I could.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Given a choice between riding a horse and riding a crab, I'd probably pick the crab every time.
I mean, just the novelty of riding a crab, right?
I mean, yeah.
Zach's like, no. I mean, it's just
kind of fun.
You just don't like horses, or what?
I mean, I'm not opposed to horses, but I think crabs.
You sure?
Crabs are just cooler.
They're like,
crabs are just cooler. That's the theme of the Stormlight Archive.
Are they like 20% cooler, or like?
I don't really.
I get it.
Don't really have a number. If you're on an animal that I would 100% ride in a heartbeat over anything else, it's probably a rhino.
That would be fun.
They can't run for too long before they die.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sprinters.
Yeah, my kid likes rhinos.
Rhinos are the best. For my birthday one year, Jamie got me one of those experiences at the zoo.
Nice.
Where you can pat the animals and everything. So I was patting the rhino. He was so cool.
Ride the walrus.
My kids did the same thing at our zoo once. They got to pet the rhino and some camels, I think.
I didn't know we had camels.
A long time ago, but I got to pat a cheetah.
Ooh,
That's cool.
That is cool.
It was cool. They're terrifying.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
Yeah, you like, okay, the cheetah's gone over there, and you've got all of a sudden the keepers are like, I'm just going to stand between you and the cheetah. Cool.
So it doesn't think you're food.
Yeah, I think they're pretty well fed, though, and they've been around a lot of people since they were cubs, so
Oh, that's good.
not like they've just been brought in from the wild.
I'm thinking about all the zoo animals we have and which ones I want to pet. Anyway, we get a lot of detail about how, I mean, you probably don't think about it, but it's much harder for horses to graze on Roshar because the grass hides until it comes out to get stuff. That way, it doesn't get blown away by storms or eaten or whatever. It hides in holes and things. So the horses have to wait.
Yeah, I'll admit that's something I've wondered for a while. It's like, what are the horses eating?
Yeah.
So-
I thought Brandon's explanation in World made sense, though. It's like, oh, it tricks the grass into thinking it's just rained. It's like,
Oh, that was
that
cool.
that makes sense. Like, that is something a horse would figure out. Like, oh, if I lick the ground, the grass will come out. So I'll just do that.
I bet the horses' food gets supplemented with like grain or something, since they can make grain with soul casting.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So
Congratulations, horse, you're smarter than grass.
good job. Kaladin does not want to ride the horse, and Dalinar has to be like, look, I mean, there may be a time when you have to guard my sons on the battlefield, or, hey, how long did it take you to run to the king's palace the other night when you heard there was an assassin? And Kaladin's like, it took me like 45 minutes, man. And he's like, yeah, you could have gotten there in a fraction of the time if you had gone over to my stables and taken a horse. And Kaladin's like, I mean, I guess.
Yeah,
Most
kind of
of-
hard to argue with that one.
Yeah, right? Most of the Bridgemen are kind of nervous. Moash, on the other hand, he's into it. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to ride a horse.
Yeah, it seems like he's, for someone who is like, I hate light eyes, I hate light eyes, I hate light eyes, he's taken to all the duties the light eyes are giving him with gusto. And it's like, you try to be one.
I mean, he said he wants to like take over and cast them down, and then the dark guys will be in charge instead. So basically, yeah, he wants to do all the stuff that they do.
He just wants to, like, yeah, be a light eyes in all but eye color.
And the stable master is a woman, which Kaladin is like, oh, that's interesting at first. Like, he didn't expect that. Also, the horses smell funny. Like, not bad, just a lot of horse smell.
That's just their natural musk.
Yeah,
Does
I
they
bet
not?
you smell. I bet you smell funny to a horse, Kaladin.
That's just his natural musk.
That's my point. It's like he's saying they smell funny. He's like, well, to a horse you smell funny.
Yep, musk.
And, like, Moash is like, you like Dalinar, don't you, Kaladin? And Kaladin's like, he's a good commander. And Moash is like, but don't forget he's a light eyes, though. You can't trust him. And Kaladin's like, yeah, I know. Light eyes suck. I'm with you. And he's like, but you're the one who seems so excited about these horses. And Moash is like, yeah. Have you ever like faced a light eyes on a horse on the battlefield? So
Yes.
you know, yeah.
Yes, I have.
So you know what advantage they offer. I'll take Dalinar's offer gladly. And the stable master Jeanette, she is very plain spoken. She's like, the High Prince says I have to let you ruffians touch my horses. I'm not pleased about it. And Kaladin just shoots back, well, neither are we. So there you go.
So she's obviously got her safe hand out. That's acceptable for a horse master.
Did she?
No, I think
it says
a
she
glove
did.
on it.
Really? It says
Yeah,
she folded her
I think
arms.
It says she has a glove
No, it
instead
says
of
in
a
a
cuff
sleeve.
or something. Yeah, it's
Oh,
a sleeve
okay.
or it's covered up somehow.
I must have missed that bit.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. We'll get there maybe. And so she gives them she tells Kaladin he needs a haircut. And then she says, okay, listen up, and gives them a very long speech. It says one of the dullest, most protracted lectures of Kaladin's life about how to sit on a horse, how to handle a horse, how to be respectful of the horse.
You got to imagine that, like, under his dad, Kaladin sat through some boring ass lectures. He once
Right.
went on for 3 hours about bone density. Yay.
Like, that, at least probably Kaladin he thought he was going to be a surgeon. He's probably kind of interested in that. This he doesn't want to do, so I can understand how it would seem even longer and more boring.
Yeah, true.
And then Adolin rides over on his horse. He's like, hey, Jeanette, you're looking great. Is that a new dress? And without even looking, she picks up a rock and throws it at him.
I like her. She got some gumption.
She does. It's great.
I mean, yeah.
And
She
then
can
he's
get
like, oh,
away
come
with
on, you're not.
assaulting the prince.
Yeah, I mean, who
Cal-
else knows
Calder's,
about horses?
Calden's just like, I should probably arrest you for that. And Jeanette's like, but come on, you want to join in. And Calden's like, yeah, I do.
He's like, I should probably arrest you for that, but it's Adolin, so do whatever.
Technically, I'm supposed to protect him, but
He is the worst.
he's like, come on, you're not still sore about that. And then she throws another rock, and he's like, fine, I'm leaving.
Bye.
And then Kaladin takes a moment to be like, hey, there's lots of women working on your staff. Like, he's surprised. And she says, yeah, horseback riding isn't mentioned in Arts and Majesty. Horses weren't terribly well known back then. Radiance had Rishadium, but even kings had little access to regular horses. And she wore her safe hand in a sleeve, unlike most of the dark-eyed groom women who wore gloves. So she does have hers in a sleeve. I think Jamie was the only one who remembered that correctly. But
Okay.
the other ones wear gloves.
I must have missed it because I was thinking about, like, this made me think, okay, coral reef-ish planet. How the hell did horses evolve here to be like regular ass horses? Do these all come over from Shin?
We know that Shinovar is where people go to buy horses because we heard about that. We don't know that's the only place, but maybe.
Okay, I don't remember that specifically. I just remember like that was where the chickens came from.
Yeah, when he went to buy chickens, the Shin guy's like, most people want to buy our horses, and the guy was like, they're too hard to take care of and they eat too much. These guys are easy.
Fair enough. In my defense, that was like half a year ago, if not more.
It's been a while. And Kaladin's like, why does it matter if horses are mentioned in a book? And she's like, Arts and Majesty, the foundation of masculine and feminine arts. Oh, right. Yeah. I keep seeing those. I keep looking at those captain's knots, but forgetting. It's like, what? That I'm just an ignorant dark eyes? And she's like, I mean, yeah, if that's how you want to put it. Whatever. She just does not give a shit, and it's great. And I like that he's like, I like her. Like, Kaladin's like, I like her better than most of the light-eyed women. Being overtly condescending is better than the alternative.
Yeah,
It's
you
whack.
appreciate the honesty.
Not a high bar when being overtly condescending is better.
Yeah, I mean, if like she's a lady that if you're gonna get turned down for dating her, she's just gonna tell you like it is, and then you know where you stand. You know, like you're
It's
not
true.
like, oh, could I have gone out with her if I'd have said this, or could I have done this, or she's just gonna tell you like, yeah, no, I'm not interested, bro.
That is nice.
I prefer the smell of horse to the smell of you.
Now please leave. So you're saying if I rub myself in horses? No,
Oh,
No one said this. Don't touch the horses.
get away, get away.
Moash is the first one into the saddle, and he's like, whoa, how do I... Jane, stop this crazy thing. And Jeanette's like, you dropped the reins. Were you even listening to the giant speech I just gave? And he's like, reins? Can't I just slap it over the head with a reed like you do a chull? And she's like, oh my gosh, why did I even bother? No, horses don't work like chulls. Sorry.
It's a very like, what gear are you in? Gear?
Yep. It's like Kaladin gets up on his horse. The horse is just like licking some rocks, trying to get some food. And Kaladin's like, come on, let's go. And the horse is like, nah, not interested. You're supposed to be some kind of wagon with legs, and you're worth more than a village. Prove it. Come on, get going.
love that description.
Yeah, right. And then Jeanette has to be like, you need to show her you're in charge. Don't let her eat. She'll walk all over you if you're not firm. And he's like, okay, fine. And it kind of works. He gets going a little bit. And then I don't remember if we've met Natam before. He's a Bridge 4 guy who's been working as bodyguard here. Maybe he was mentioned a couple times. I'm not sure.
The name is familiar, but I don't remember specifically where from.
And so he's here riding a horse, and he's like, I can't believe people ride these things on storming purpose. And then Kaladin's like, hey, I've been meaning to ask you about like the day that someone tried to kill the king. Do you remember who went out on the balcony before the storm that night? Like any weird servants or soldiers who were not from the king's guard? Just anybody unusual? And he's like, nothing really stands out to me. And then his horse starts taking off, and Kaladin's like, think about it. See you later. Because they still have no idea how to control them. And then the line, a small horse galloped past him, period, in the air, period, made of light, period. That throws me off every time, which I think is the intention. But I'm just like, oh, a little horse can't wait. What? And then it turns out that it's Syl.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to be confused as a reader because Kaladin is confused as a character. He's like, wait, what's happening now? Oh,
Yeah.
it's Syl.
And Syl says, you're not enjoying yourself. And he says, you're starting to sound like my mother. And she's like, what? Captivating, amazing, witty, meaningful? And then she's like, okay, fine. What's drearifying you today? And Calvin's like, there's something weird about that conversation I just had. I asked if anyone had been out there before the storm, and then he figures it out. The high storm is like a hurricane, basically. If the balcony had been sabotaged before the storm, the storm would have broken it. So it must have happened after the storm, which is a much narrower window of time. And he wants to catch up to Natom now to ask him about after the storm, but that's when Adolin shows up. Having trouble there, bridge boy?
Ugh, this guy.
She says, oh, that horse there, she might have been fast in her youth, but that was 15 years ago. She seems perfectly suited for training children. And bridgemen. Now, if you want something with more spunk, Dreamstorm over there might be more to your liking. And they look over, and there's a bigger, leaner horse tied to a rope. Tied to a pole. Obviously a rope. And it does not look like a friendly one. And Kaladin's like, Dreamstorm. And he starts heading that way. And Syl's like, aren't you just complaining about, like, not wanting to ride the horse? And Kaladin's like, yep. So why are you gonna... He's like, this horse is for walking. I can walk on my own. That one is an animal for war. He's like, if I'm going to train, I may as well train on, like, the serious ones. And then he thinks to himself, this is the same argument Zahel made about learning to fight against the Shardblade, and I turned him down. So,
I mean, he's still got the lesson.
Yeah, he got that with the one practice session. That's true. And Jeanette is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to get on that one. And Jeanette's like, yeah, she'll throw you off in a heartbeat and break your head. She's not good with riders.
She's not very good with people.
And Kaladin's like, well, I'm going to try anyway. And Jeanette's like, you won't even be able to get on. And she's watching him curiously, like, she kind of wants to see what happens. Although he also thinks she's probably more worried about the horse's safety than his, which I believe 100%. And Kaladin even thinks this is going to be just like the Light-Eyed practice grounds again, huh? I'm going to end up on my back looking like an idiot. And Syl's like, yeah, probably. So why? Because of Adolin? And Kaladin's like, no. The princeling can storm away. I want to do this because I'm scared to do it. Which, I mean, I get that. I'm not sure I believe him completely. But
no fear.
The reasoning makes sense.
I admire the ability or courage to then go and face your fear head on.
Yeah.
That's not bad. But yeah, I don't agree that that's the entire reason he's doing it. He's doing it to show up Adolin.
Yeah, pretty sure Adolin has more to do with it than Kaladin wants to admit, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And like Adolin's like, you're not really going to do that, are you? And Kaladin jumps up to uses some Stormlight to jump. It says higher than a person could normally jump, and into the saddle. And then he puts some Stormlight on the saddle so he can stick to it, which I think the
cheating,
funniest thing.
But okay.
Yeah, 100% cheating. I think it would have been funny if, like, he's like sticking his pants to it or something. So if his pants had ripped and he flew off, that would have been hilarious. But it wasn't to be. So yes, he sticks himself to the saddle and manages to stay on the bucking bronco.
I'm just thinking about that. Like, you're not wrong. Like, what if his pants fell off? What if he actually stuck the skin of his behind to the horse and then that ripped? Like, there's just so many.
That's a bad picture.
There's so many things, but I'm sure the magic physics are just like that entire section of whatever within this radius sticks. I don't know.
And I don't know. Rule of cool. It's cooler the way it would be funnier the other way, but it's cool this way. But he manages, through cheating, to stay on until it seems like the horse is kind of bucked. Is Dreamstorm a girl? I forget it. Yes, a girl. I called it a bronco, but it's not. It's a girl horse. But anyway, she seems to have kind of bucked herself out. And so he relaxes. He's like, oh, I did it. And the second he's relaxed, she bucks again and throws him off because the Stormlight has run out.
Smart horse.
Yep. And as he's on the ground, it says an equine head with unfathomably dark eyes leaned down over him and snorted at him. And he's like, you waited till I was relaxed and then you threw me, you monster. And the horse snorts again. And to his credit, he just laughs at how ridiculous the whole thing is. But he's drawn a crowd watching him as all this happened. And so Dalinar apparently has noticed a crowd and comes back over here. And he's like, he just raises his eyebrow at Kaladin.
I left you alone for 5 minutes.
And Kaladin, like, salutes. And he's like, you don't chase down assassins on a placid mount, sir. And Dalinar counters with, yeah, but you usually start training men with weapons that don't have edges. So, are you okay? And Kaladin's like, yeah, I'm fine. And so he wants Kaladin and his men to come here and train for the next few weeks every day. And in 2 weeks, he wants Kaladin to head out on a patrol outside the war camps and take some horses to practice. And Jeanette's like, wait, you're taking my horses outside the city? But what about the bandits? And Dalinar's like, the horses are here to be used, Jeanette. Yeah. Captain, you'll be sure to bring enough troops to protect the horses, right? Yes, sir.
Well, son number one, you see that dark-eyed captain? I think he broke his coccyx on that horse.
I don't even know what a coccyx is.
That's because you're dumber than a horse.
That is true. I didn't know to lick grass and make it come out.
Yeah, I think that one stumped us all, didn't it?
Yeah, no matter how often we tried.
Yeah.
Okay. Just lick the rocks, yeah. That's the trick.
Go on, son, lick the rock.
Aw.
So then Adolin comes over and he's like, hey, thanks for not telling my dad that I put you up to it. And Kaladin's like, I'm not an idiot, Adolin. I could see what I was getting myself into. And then he goes to practice riding horses some more. And he's actually getting a little bit better, to the point where Natam is like, that is unfair that you just like figured out how to direct your horse so easily. And he's like, hey, I asked you about before the storm. What about after the storm? Who went out on the balcony after the storm? And Natam says, I mean, just the guards. And Colin says, okay, well, which one? Maybe they saw something. And he's like, I don't know. And I guess Moash went out there. And Colin's like, wait, wasn't his shift supposed to be done soon? And Tom's like, yeah, he stayed around for a little bit to see the king settled in. And you usually want one of us out there on the balcony. So he went out to stand watch a little bit. And Colin's like, okay, thanks. I'll go ask him. Maybe he saw something. And Moash is also picking up the riding pretty quickly. So he seems to pick up things quickly in general.
He was a soldier in a previous life, wasn't he?
He wanted to be a soldier was the thing. And then he joined up and they made him like a bridgeman instead.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose this is the point where everyone's waiting for me to shout Hughes at Moash. But I don't think he's behind this one. Sorry. I don't think he's behind this because, as Kaladin points out, he doesn't have a shard blade. And if he did, we'd know because his eyes would change, yeah?
That is the story. We've never actually seen it happen. But yeah.
I was about to say, it's never been confirmed.
Unless he has these special little drops that make his eyes dark.
That's true, too.
Yeah, okay.
Although, I don't know that he'd be able to sustain that while being a bridgeman.
True.
That's the thing. If you were secretly light-eyed, he would have spent a long time as a bridgeman faking that in the deadliest, most horrible position in the army. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's a tough one. I'm gonna say he is behind it because he's the only lead we have, and also I want. Like, it'd be funny to me if Dak doesn't like Moash, but then he was wrong about Moash.
The one time he thinks Moash is innocent.
That would be ironic. So
that would be pretty funny. I'll give you that.
Let's all put our chips on that, just because it would be funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think he cut the thing itself, but he could have let whoever did do it in somehow, like toss a ladder down the thing or something.
Okay, so Dak's gonna hedge his bet a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. There's something
so much about Moash that we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I think it'd be more interesting if he. Yeah, I think it'd be more interesting if he somehow had a shard blade.
I mean, that would definitely rock our worlds a bit. I feel like there's something evil in his future. I'll double down on he evil.
He evil.
But I don't know if this was it. So I'll go with maybe he's just the lackey at the moment, and then later on he goes full Starscream.
He gets promoted. Okay.
Yeah. The age of men is over. The time of Moash is come.
Okay. I like this. If Moash secretly has Shardblade, there's going to have to be a lot of explanation, like, for why this makes sense.
I
mean, it could happen. I mean, we've had crazier twists.
And we don't know, like, we haven't seen in story, and there's so few shard blades, and they're not getting into the hands of Light Eyes. Like, the closest we could have come to seeing it happen on page would have been if Kaladin had touched the shard blade, but he didn't. Yep. So, like, we don't know that shard blades do the mystical thing that people said they do. That could be all fluff.
You know what? Maybe there are different shard blades out there. Because we've seen the one that Seth carries is called an honor blade, or at least that's what the Parshendi have been calling it. I mean, we assume that's the case. So that suggests it came from the shard honor. What if Odium's giving out blades of his own and they don't have the same effect?
That's good. Good thought. The Odium blades, the dark blades.
Yeah.
What if everybody had like gray eyes originally, like kind of blank eyes, and then when the blades started coming, like the Odium blades made dark eyes and the honor blades made light eyes, and that's why light eyes are like held at the top because they're better. Honor, people wanted to be honor bladey.
Yeah. That could be cool. And maybe Moash has a dark blade.
Dark blade.
Darkblade makes me think of like a black blade bleeding like black smoke, and I'm like, oh, we've already seen one of those. Never mind, it can't be that.
That's that would be Nightblade.
Nightblood.
Nightblood, excuse me.
Nightblade is the name of the vampire from the Saints Row universe. Or the vampire hunter. I'm sorry.
That's right. Yeah, Nightblade. I forgot about that. Saints Row. It's crazy.
Question.
That game's irresponsible.
Does Eshonai have light eyes?
I don't think it's been mentioned. That's a really good question. She has a shard blade. Do we know what color Parshendi eyes are in general? Like, do they even...
Not that I recall.
Maybe she has an Odium blade.
For all we know, all Parshendi have like just red eyes or something. I don't remember any mention of it.
Right. Well, if they let's back that thought pattern up. If we believe that Parshendi are the Voidbringers, I would guess, and we now know that they have different spren than the ones that other people have, I guess. Then I would guess, based on the atrocities which they committed, that they are probably, if there is a separation between Odium side and Honor side as far as blades and maybe Spren and all that, then I think we could assume that they would have dark blades like Odium blades.
Interesting. Yeah, could be.
I'm willing to go with it.
Yep. And then
I just Googled it, and I don't think it's mentioned about their
eyes. Well, and the Parshendi, did I misremember this, that they don't like the Honor blade?
Well, they don't seem to like anything about the gods in general. Like, it seemed like they
mistrust them.
Yeah, and if they worked for Odium, that could make sense. If they turned their back on all gods, including him, makes sense that he would just kick him to the curb.
Right, like if they were doing these awful things because they were being controlled by Odium, then you would imagine that they'd be pretty pissed off at gods in general, right? Because the main experience they've had with one is like a betrayer and an evil like presence.
Yeah, and forcing him to commit heinous acts.
Right. Because it doesn't seem, at least from the impression that we get from this one Parshendi who's wielding a blade, it doesn't seem like they're the type of people that are just like, destroy everything, we're evil. It seems like, especially she has like a certain amount of remorse for actions, but that they didn't see another path.
Yeah, that's definitely the impression.
Right, to get what they get what they needed to get, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the mention of the honor blades that they made was they were like, maybe Surge Binding isn't returning, maybe it was one of the honor blades, and they're like, we left one in Alethkar that night. So it wasn't that they didn't like them, it was like it just meant something.
Yeah.
Well, after our talk about Moash, Kaladin is thinking along the same lines where he's like, what are you really thinking that Moash might have had something to do with it? It's crazy. The guy didn't even have a shard blade. And then he turns. Does he? Or does he? He turns and he sees Dalinar chatting with somebody. It's Amaram. And Adolin and Renarin have also ridden over, and Amaram's all smiling and waving at him. And Kaladin is just like suddenly furious. And he's like,
I'm a little bi-furious.
It's like, wait a second, who's playing Black Betty by Spiderbait? Oh, Black Betty, Amaram. Yeah, Black Betty, Amaram.
I thought about that last week after you'd sung that, because now every time I hear that song, that's all I hear.
Here's Amaram.
Yeah.
Do you hear that song frequently?
Yeah.
They've been talking about it on the radio a bit.
It's a bit of a staple of Aussie rock, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think they just celebrated an anniversary of that album or something as well, so...
Oh, okay.
It's not a song like I wouldn't say I hear it a huge amount. Like I would hear a lot more Taylor Swift on the radio, for example.
Right.
But
well, that was my question. I'm like, that's an old song. So you guys hearing that a lot, or?
Yeah, I think.
But if it's coming up on
an
anniversary, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, yeah, like the big Aussie rock songs do tend to come up a bit more down here than they would over there.
Sure. Do you guys claim like the AC/DC stuff, right? Because I know most of them were English, but they lived in Australia.
Yeah. Like AC/DC and cultures will come up all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I've been sitting on that joke for a while, but Amaram was very stubbornly not showing up, so I was waiting for an opportunity.
Right. When am I going to get to make my sweet Amaram joke?
Just the other day, I saw a meme that somebody made about like D&D, where the player goes, so my new character is Elizabeth Black, but she goes by Betty. She comes from a family of shepherds, and her animal companion is a baby sheep named Bamba. And then it says, our Gen X DM immediately loses it. Our Zoomer rogue confused. I don't. So it's a generational difference.
Is that what they're calling Gen Z now? Zoomers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's been a thing for a while now.
I've never heard that term, so I didn't know.
Yeah. And then
Millennial for life, right, Dak?
Yeah.
I told that joke to my wife, who was born at the same time as me, and our daughter, and the exact same thing happened, where my wife found it funny, and her daughter's like, I don't get it.
I guess we're all millennials technically. Even Data.
Yeah.
I am a millennial, yes.
So this is a millennial-run podcast. Sorry if you're against us, but here we are.
Although, like, close to the border, where they call us like zillennials sometimes, like
Yeah.
the Gen Z millennial border.
You're closer to that border, yeah.
The one I really hate is geriatric millennial.
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah,
Oh,
that's not nice.
Jesus.
Ugh.
That's unkind.
Right? Yeah. But anyway, going into the chapter, The Feather.
Hold on. You know what else is unkind? Geriatric pregnancy, because that's like 38 or something like that.
Is it really? I'd never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, when those people came in, they dropped off a package. It's the pants for my Hoyd cosplay for the
Oh, nice.
the convention.
Nice.
I think it's the last piece I was needing, so that's exciting. Okay. The Feather.
35. It's 35. Sorry. I had to confirm that.
Oh, okay. From the Listener Song of Wars is the epigraph here. They blame our people for the loss of that land. The city that once covered it did range the eastern strand. The power made known in the tomes of our clan. Our gods were not who shattered these plains. So that's interesting.
Lot to question there.
Yeah. I think the only real theory we've had so far about the shattered plains was Dak was theorizing odium crashed into them or something.
Yeah.
But this tells us our gods were not who shattered the plains, whatever that means. We still don't know for sure who their gods are, although we've had theories about that too. So
Also, those stanzas could be a lie.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Odium's old buddy Autonomy just came along, gave the planet a literal kick in the ass.
Those stanzas were a lie.
So this chapter, Adolin is out on the battlefield fighting Parshendi, and he's got a shard blade. He's cutting them down, and this time, for once, he has real soldiers around him, not those bridgemen. Left them back on the plateau. He did, and he's come out here to help out his friend Jakimov, who we met briefly at like a coffee house or something with him in the last book when he was still dating that one girl. And Jakimov had gotten himself surrounded out here. Adolin had to cut through to save him, essentially. And this isn't even a plateau run that Dalinar's army is supposed to be on, but Adolin took a small strike force out just to lend a hand, because they're thinking, if they can get the other armies to see the benefits of working together, then this would be a good thing. This would get them all thinking about Alethkar as a kingdom and not just a bunch of separate princedoms. And like at one point during the chapter, Jakimov's like, I know what you're doing. I get it. I'm not really that impressed by it, but I will take the help. So, and we brought Renarin along too, but Renarin is not getting involved in the fighting, or he's not supposed to. He's been left down there with his bodyguards to observe. Because he's not trained that much yet. The only training we've seen him do so far is jumping off a roof, which is probably not that helpful in battle unless you want to fall on some bad guys. Which, that might do something. And Jakimov has shard plate, but not a shard blade, so he uses a big old hammer in battle. Which we saw Dalinar's Warhammer in the last book, so we have an idea about how that works. And the two of them get an idea. We get a description of this plateau. It's like a weird one. Adolin is thinking it looks like a big hill that got cut right in half when the plains shattered. And it's not even like a regular hill. It's like a stepped hill with like 3 different steps. And up on the top is where the Parshendi are going after the Gemheart. And so they decide to climb like the sheer wall up to the Parshendi by climbing and using his blade to help him as well. And then there's a very cool move where Adolin like sinks his blade into the rock and stands on it. And it says shard blades couldn't break. They could barely bend. So he can hold on and use that as a platform to jump up to the top and then make his blade disappear and come back to his hand, which is a very badass visual, I think.
Yeah, it also makes sense based on what we know about how the shard blade works.
And they get up there, they cut down some Parshendi, and they discover that they are too late. The Parshendi have made off with the Gemheart. And Jakimov's like, how'd they do it so quickly? And that's when we see the Parshendi shard bearer is here.
She sure is.
Aelin goes, it's him! And then he runs up, he's like, fight me! And he chases her down, and when he catches up to her, she goes, you are the son of Adolin Colin. Colin, your father, where is he? And Aelin's, I'm sorry, you are the son, Adolin Colin. Your father, where is he? And Aelin's like, oh, I understood that. Heavily accented Alethi, but I got it. And then he's like, is that a woman, Parshendi? This is very strange.
He's like, my dad's already seeing someone.
She says, I must needs speak to Dalinar. I met him one time much long ago. And Aelin's like, you've refused our every messenger. Now you want to talk?
Also, like I said, my dad's already seeing somebody. It's my aunt. It's very awkward. I don't
Thanks for bringing it up.
I don't need to add more fuel on that fire.
Oh,
That
God,
would be
this is just
super
what I
awkward
need.
if his dad just started dating a Parshendi.
Yeah, I love triangle between my dad, my aunt, and a Parshendi woman. Oh, God.
And she says, that was long ago. Time does change. And Aelin's thinking, like, this is exactly the kind of thing his dad has been looking for. This is the kind of chance that Dalinar's been looking for to, like, end the war, essentially. And so he says, okay, he'll contact you, but how? And she says, we'll send a messenger. Do not kill one who comes. And then she takes off.
Ah, man, I feel like that's far too optimistic of the Alethi.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Can you not kill one guy? It's asking a lot, my dude. Just
Do they even have flags of truce on this planet?
what if we just kill him a little bit? What if we promise not to wear his bones? Was that close enough to? No? All right. Adolin heads back, and High Prince Royan and Ruthar are the ones who were actually on this plateau run. And one of them, at least, is kind of pissed off. He's blaming Adolin for the loss of the Gemheart. Meanwhile, something happened with Renarin while he was gone. His bridgeman guards are like a group of shellheads. Here's another one. I think we may have heard that slur before. The marbles had been new, but shellheads make me think of the Ninja Turtles, which, like, that's a good thing. It's not bad.
Well, that Shellhead was a nickname like this in the Silver Age that the Avengers used for Iron Man.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's true too. Yeah.
I think Black Widow even called him that in Age of Ultron.
I buy that. So Renarin tried to go after a group of Parshendi who were trying to seize one of the bridges, but when he got there, he just froze. And after that, he went over and sat on a rock and has been sitting there ever since. And Adolin goes over and tries to comfort his brother. He's like, hey, man, it's okay. This stuff happens. He thinks that he's had one of his attacks. And Renarin has to be like, it wasn't that. And it takes a little while before we get there, but he's just like, I couldn't do it. And Adolin has to be like, well, I mean, you're not trained. You shouldn't be getting into a fight. That is good. And meanwhile, Adolin is also going to have a conversation with Jakimov, who's like, man, that was almost awesome. Not quite. Your father and the king are seriously committed to this course, aren't they? And Adolin says, yeah, and so am I. And this is where he's like, I see what you guys are trying to do here, but also, if you keep dueling, you're going to lose your shards. Even you can't always win. You'll have an off day. And Aelin's like, I mean, yeah, I might lose at some point, but by then I'll have 1/2 the shards in the kingdom, so it won't really matter. Jakimov's like, you are a cocky bastard. I'll give you that. And this is where we find out that Adolin admits to him that he's having trouble getting fights. And Jakimov says, yeah, there have been certain inducements going around, promises made to shard bearers if they refuse you. And Aelin's like, Sadius. And Jakimov has a suggestion. Go try this guy. He might be up for it. And there's the thing about him being betrothed. And Jakimov like, man, I didn't think you'd let yourself get tied down. And Adolin tries to play it off like, it's not official or anything. But in the back of his head, he's thinking, I mean, maybe it'd be kind of nice. We've seen this before. He's like, maybe it'd be nice if somebody else chose after what happened with Danlin. And it wasn't his fault, was it, that he was a friendly man? Why did every woman have to be so jealous? Which puts a different light on what happened with her.
Yeah, context now.
We theorized before that she'd been like saying bad things about Dalinar, and that's why they broke up. But this makes it sound like he was hitting on other girls, and that's why they broke up.
That's not cool.
No. He's just like, I mean, I'm a friendly guy. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And Aelin's like, yeah, why don't we have some wine later on, and I'll tell you all about it. And Jakimov's like, look, you guys aren't real popular right now. And Aelin's like, yeah, it's fine. It'll blow over. And Jakimov's like, yeah, I'm sure it will. So why don't we wait until then, huh? And Adolin is kind of like, he plays it off, but he's kind of upset. He realizes that, like, this guy is not a friend who's going to stick by him through thick and thin. This is a fair weather friend, clearly. When he comes out and says, yeah, I don't want to be seen with you until the weather is fair again, essentially. But his horse likes him. His horse Sureblood comes up and gets some pets and stuff. And that's when Renarin says, I didn't have a fit. I just couldn't do it. And Adolin notices that he's not wearing his glasses. And he's like, he's just trying to pretend that he doesn't need them. Like he's tougher. He probably should wear his glasses. And Renarin says he needs to be ready for the coming storm. There's so little time, related to all the numbers that keep showing up on the walls. And that's when we move to Fabrications to Distract. 5 years ago, the flashback. Shallan is just hanging out in the gardens. It's nice out there. People don't scream at each other. And she's drawing stuff. It says that she's almost gone through all the paper her brother brought her back the last time. And she found a book by Dandos the Oilsworn that she was using as instruction on how to draw. And we heard her talk about that in The Way of Kings, that was her teacher, Dandos the Oilsworn. And I don't remember if we addressed that at the time, but probably, surprising no one, Dandos the Oilsworn is an appearance by one of Brandon's friends, a guy named Dan Dos Santos, who has done illustrations for his books. He did the cover art for Warbreaker with like the lady and the sword and the rainbow and that kind of thing. And he's done some of the Stormlight Archive stuff too. Like I think that picture of the fashion folio we saw recently, that was him. So just another appearance by a buddy of Brandon. This one dead for 300 years, but what can you do?
But his work lives on.
And then she hears screaming back at the house, and she's like, no, just pretend it's not happening. Her brother has come back a few times and brings her like new paper and stuff, but he never stays very long. And her dad avoids him when he does show up. And eventually we find that there's going to be a feast tonight. Father's been throwing these feasts. And so she realizes it's getting late and she needs to go and get ready for the feast. And there's a period out here where she kind of loses track of time, staring at a blank sheet of paper. And it says that happens to her sometimes. When she looks up, the sky is turning dark. And that's when she's like, oh, I got to go. And then she goes into the house and heads up the stairs and stares at a wall for a while. And then her brother's like some amount of time later, her brother's like, hey, Van Jushu is her brother's name. Like, what are you doing up here? And Jushu is, I think we learned before, was the gambler of the family. He was, in the last book, he was selling off their possessions to help cover their debts, but making it look like he was secretly doing it to pay off his gambling debts. It was like, oh yeah, his vices that he's gotten over supposedly are helping out in this case. But she notes that like his outfit, like his cufflinks and his belt used to have glowing gemstones on them. He's gambled those away at some point. And she's like, hey, were you here earlier? What was Dad yelling about? And Jushu's like, yeah, no, I wasn't here, but I heard Balat has been starting fires again, nearly burned down the Storming Servants building.
Jesus, just when I thought Balat couldn't get any worse.
Yeah, it's not enough to like hurt animals. Now he's like, you know what? Fire's fun.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. Piece of work.
Piece of something.
Jushu is also drunk. He starts stumbling and has to grab a hold of the banister to keep himself up. And she's like, oh, Father's not going to like Jushu coming to the feast drunk. More yelling. And Jushu's like, storm-cursed idiot, Balat is going straight crazy. I'm the only one left in this family with any sense. You were staring at a wall again, weren't you?
You must be great from that glass house of yours.
Right?
If you have to stand there and say, I'm the only one who hasn't lost it, you probably have. Like, stop.
True, right? Oh. And he's like, Halaran is the only one Dad ever loved, and he's the one who betrayed Father, but he's still the only one who matters. Like, he's pissed off. And as they walk, Shallan turns and looks at catches a glimpse of Father's study. There's a glowing strong box hidden behind a painting of a storm at sea. And she just stares at it, and she's like, what are you staring at? She goes, the light. What light? Behind the painting. And he's like, what in the halls are you talking about, girl? It really did ruin your mind, didn't it, watching him kill Mother? I'm the only one in the family who hasn't gone crazy. The only storming one. And she just keeps staring, and she thinks, there hid a monster. There hid Mother's soul. And that's the end of that flash. These Shallan, like, the Kaladin flashbacks were very, I want to say, like,
normal?
matter of fact. Yeah.
Not-
Sean's flashbacks are weird.
Yeah, not weird, creepy, and also vague.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the fact that Kaladin had a reasonably healthy and stable upbringing,
It's true.
and his family was not, in fact, a grand central of fuck-ups.
Like, they didn't do everything perfectly, because who does? But he had two parents who loved him and a little brother who really also loved him, and like they were a happy-ish family.
Yeah.
Shalon don't got that.
No, she's like the complete opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, she got 3 older brothers. One's all right, one's a madman, and one's a drunk. And the dad may or may not be a murderer, but at the very least, he is a fucking abuser.
I think she has 4 older brothers, actually.
Oh, really?
There's 3 that are still around when in the last book when she's like communicating
that's
back to
right.
them.
And yeah, we think something happened to Helleran because Balat got his prefix.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Chapter 28, Boots. And this epigraph is from the listener song of Secrets. The betrayal of Spren has brought us here. They gave their surges to human heirs, but not to those who knew them most dear before us. 'Tis no surprise we turned away. Unto the gods we spent our days, and to become their molding clay they changed us. So there's some interesting information. Once again, if true. Interesting if true. And Shalon, Tin has her practicing accents. She's practicing a Bav accent. And apparently the Bav are not the most sophisticated nation around.
Where are they from? I can't see Bav anywhere on the map.
I believe it's called Bavland on the map, if I remember right. Let me look. Bring up the map.
I cannot see it. I'm staring
Okay, hold on.
right
Gotta
in
zoom
front of
in.
my eyes. I just bring it up because every time in these books I hear Bav, I think Bavadin. I'm like, what the fuck's autonomy doing here? Autonomy. She's like, you have to be ambitious. Create your own accent.
There it is. So if you look, Yakoved is this big area.
Yeah.
And then there's like some mountains, and then it like juts into Yakoved just above Silnasen.
Yeah,
There's
I see
Bavland.
it. That's the tiniest country on the mainland.
It is pretty small.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Oh, so there you go. Bavland.
Yep.
Not a center of culture is what I'm getting out of this. And they're generally seen as not very important people, which is why Tin is trying to encourage Shalon to develop some like lower class accents so she can go unnoticed.
Man, that would be hilarious if like it is like the one section of this planet that Bavadin managed to carve out for herself, and it's the least important place on the country. That's like completely against Autonomy's deal.
Autonomy's got like an avatar there that just is hanging out.
Another fella named Trell, because there's been a couple of those, I think.
So, yeah, I think you're right.
There was one on White Sand Planet.
Mm-hmm. And so to illustrate how useful this could be, she says, "Elocute with distinction, and it often won't matter how little money you have," which is kind of, that's the Yasna lesson again, where if you act important, people will see you as important. On the other hand, wipe your nose on your arm and speak like a Bav, and sometimes people won't even glance to see if you're wearing a sword. And Shalon's like, well, but my eyes are light blue, so I'll never pass for like a lowly person, no matter what. And that's when Tin introduces the eye drops that make your eyes dark for a few hours. Not hard to find if you have the right connections. Useful stuff. And then Shalon's like, wait a second. It's suddenly feeling a chill. She goes, is there? And Tin goes, the reverse? No. Nothing that can turn dark eyes into light eyes unless you believe the stories about shard blades. And Shalon has this impression of Tin where it's like, oh, you're like a professional con artist, so you must have money and lots of stuff, right? Like, you're a thief. It's all about getting more stuff. And Tin's like, I take what I can get, but that just proves how transient stuff is. Sometimes you get a bunch of stuff, then you lose a bunch of stuff. Just like the job I pulled down south, my team never returned from their mission. I'm half convinced they ran off without seeing me paid. But it happens. No need to get worked up. So she's coming north off a job that her team didn't come back from. And Shalon's like, what kind of job? And Tin's like, oh, it was a big job. Big, important job for important people. So still haven't heard back from the people who hired us.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Yeah, not good.
And then she's like, hey, look, and up ahead there's some guys on horses. And Shallan's surprised, like, who could afford animals like that, and why don't they have an escort? There's only 4 of them. But as they get closer, it turns out there's some more guys, and Tin says, come on. And she takes Shallan up ahead to meet with these horseback, because Shallan is ostensibly the lead of this caravan now. She got the other guy to agree to her leadership, so she's gonna have to take charge of this encounter. And then, like, Macabre, the former leader of this caravan, is like, what if they're bandits? And Shallan's like, there's only 4 of them, Master Macabre. The day I can't handle 4 bandits on my own is the day I deserve to be robbed. And then as they leave, Shallan's like, what if they are bandits, though? And Tin's like, I thought you said you could handle 4. I was just going along with your attitude. But Tin's like, nah, bandits wouldn't let us see them. It's fine. And as they're getting close, Tin's like, so who are you going to be? And Shallan's like, myself? Where's the fun in that? How's your horn eater? And she's like, wait, what? And Tin goes, too late. And here comes some dudes on horses. As we will soon find out, Kaladin is the lead of this group of men on horseback. And
I just love that. Too late. It's like, well, how's that shell you just got thrown under?
Exactly. And she notes that Kaladin does not seem in complete control of the horse, but he goes brightness and nods to her, and she's shocked that he's a dark-eyed man riding a horse. Jeez, okay. And Tin goes, Her Highness, Princess Unulukuwak Kina Autuatai. You are in the presence of royalty. And Kaladin's like, a horn eater? Wearing a Vorin dress? Rock would have a fit. And Shallan's like, I'm going to strangle you. This thing, he is not what you have a princess wear. He is good for me. You will be respect. I love that she just goes for it.
She sure does. I want to hear this on the audiobook. Like, what is...
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
The voice actor of Shallan sound like trying to do a horn eater?
With gusto.
With gusto.
I'll have to listen.
And I like Kaladin says, I'm sorry. And then she thinks, he doesn't seem very apologetic.
I respect your ethnicity to the extent the law requires.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. You're the worst, but, I have to say you're the best or whatever.
And Kaladin's like, I've been sent to look for signs of bandits. Has everything been well with your caravan? And Tin's like, we ran into some bandits 3 weeks ago. Why do you care? And Kaladin's like, well, we represent the king and are from the personal guard of Dalinar Kholin. And Shallan's like, oh, crap.
It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, that's the guy I'm supposed to go see. This is not great.
I had to marry his son. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It sure is a pickle.
And really, personal guard should have tipped her off that she would probably see this guy again.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just gets crazier as Kaladin's like, okay, so if you really were attacked, I want to know the details. And Shallan's like, if we were attacked, you doubt our word? I am offend. And Tin's like, you better watch yourself. Her Highness does not like to be offended. And Cal's like, shocking. Okay.
All right. What? Okay.
Doesn't like to be offended, you say. Who would have thought?
Does anybody like to be offended?
Yeah. And this is where he's like, you're only a day and a half by caravan from the Shattered Plains. You should be safe the rest of the way. And Shallan asks a question. Like, she wants to know how a Dark Guys is riding the horse. Which every time I say it, it makes me think of Django. But anyway.
Wait.
Kaladin should have been like, I am offend.
Yeah.
Kaladin's just like the old Spice Guys. And it's like, I'm a dark-eyed. I'm on a horse.
I'm on a horse. Yeah.
Look at me.
Yes, that is exactly what I was thinking of in my brain, and I couldn't place it. And now you've said it. He's like, he gets to the end of his commercial. He's like, I'm on a horse. It's exactly it.
Kaladin is Old Spice guy. I love it. I'm on board.
As he said in one of the later ones, like, you can't get past the striking brown eyes, can you? Don't worry. It's commonplace.
It's commonplace.
She says, this Kholin trusts you well, given that you're on the horses. And he's like, I do my duty. Where are the rest of your people?
It's my job.
He's very suspicious of her. As Joe says, he may not have fallen for this at all. But
in his head, he's already planning. It's like, as soon as they get there, I'm going to have Rock prepare her a traditional Storm Eater stew and see what how she reacts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't take long. Rock could look at her with her red hair and her ridiculousness and be like, "This is not Horn Eater."
Apparently, red hair is common with horn eaters. Is part of the thing that makes it play. So
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
that's what she says in a minute, I think.
She's actually part Horn Eater. We just didn't know.
It could be.
But it's like even Kaladin's like, oh, you're a little spindly for a horn eater. Rock is gonna be like, she is little tiny baby woman, not fit for good rock eater men. Or with the rock eater woman. Rock does not distinguish.
Little tiny baby.
The Horn Eater peaks are right in the middle of Yakaved, so it's entirely possible that she could be.
That's true. Maybe in her ancestry somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe her mom is 2 generations removed or something.
Yeah. But he's like, Kaladin says, you look a little spindly for a Horn Eater. And Tin says, did you just insult the princess's weight? And Shallan thinks, wow, she's really good. She even produced Anger Sprint on that one. And then Shallan's like, I am offend. You've offended Her Highness again. Very offend. You'd better apologize.
Yeah,
no
give me those
apologize. Boots.
It feels like a bit of a Monty Python thing going on right now. I was expecting even when she says boots, even Tin to just go, what?
You want the boots? Okay.
I am liking your boots.
Well, the curtains. No, the curtains. The boots.
This bird has ceased to be. Yeah, okay. You will
cease to be.
You will apology with boots. And
this is the dumbest podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, well, it's.
I don't know. We've had some doozies.
Yeah, you're right.
Remember that 10-minute discussion about Wesley Snipes?
I do now.
The best discussion ever? Yeah, obviously.
I mean, who's not a fan of the antics of Wesley Snipes? Probably Wesley Snipes at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Shallan's just like, this motherfucker's trying to ice skate uphill.
That's a good one.
My favorite Blade line. Okay. This is a fan favorite moment from this book. One of several. Like there's a lot of good moments in the book, but this is one that people will often refer to where she's like, "You will apology with boots." It's I enjoy it. I think that it's hilarious. From my perspective, it gets even better where she's just like Hal's like, "You want my boots?" And Tin's like, "Didn't you hear her? Are all of Dalinar Kholin's soldiers so disrespectful?" He's like, "I'm not disrespectful, but I'm not giving her my boots." You insult. I will tell all who are to listen. When arriving, I will say Kholin is stealer of boots and taker of women's virtue.
Stealer of boots? He didn't steal the boots. They're his boots.
Kaladin goes, virtue? And she's like, yes, for virtue. No, wrong word. Virtue. Vesture. Taker of women's vesture is the word I wanted. And I love this joke, but Kaladin and his guys have no idea what she's just said, and she thinks good puns are lost on men with poor vocabulary.
Aww.
I mean, they're probably also kind of stuck on how she originally worded it. Makes it sound like Kaladin assaulted her.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have laid me bare here in the wilderness. Stripping me is an insult to my house and my clan. All will know that Kholin and Kaladin's like, okay, stop.
All right,
stop.
Take my boots.
Here's the boots.
If she gets in with Adolin later, I just want Kaladin to be Kaladin to be like, can I have my boots back?
Right?
Like,
100%.
I need those, please.
No, it's like when she's finally formally presented to Dalinar, Kaladin's going to be standing right behind him, and Dalinar goes, all right, Captain, take this woman to her quarters, and Kaladin just goes, nice boots.
Tin goes, your apology is accepted. And he's like, yeah, by damnation, it had better be. Let's get out of here. He takes off with no boots.
Oh, can you imagine? It's all going to come out. He's going to get back, and Rock is going to be like, you got tricked out of your boots by a fake horn eater?
Oh, Kaladin.
And Shallan is just like, I'm going to strangle you, Tin. Like, he knew that we were playing him. That's the worst horn eater impression a woman has ever done. And Tin's like, actually, no, so it was pretty good. You overdid it a little bit, but... And then she's like, you know these boots aren't going to fit you, right? And she's like, the look on his face, though. No apologize, boots. And Shallan's like, I just really need some boots. We established earlier in the chapter, I kind of skipped over it, but like Macabre gave her some light-eyed woman slippers, but they are not very good for walking on the ground.
Yeah, so Fat Lotta Yusette's going to be walking around.
Yeah. And then she feels bad. She's like, I hope he's all right without them. What if he has to fight bandits on his way back?
He has no boots. He can't. He's going to walk barefoot. I mean, it'd be fine. He's got Stormlight, but she doesn't know that.
He returns to Camp Dell, and I was like, Soldier, what happened to your boots? I don't want to talk about it.
Do not want to talk about it at all.
Lost him to a Horn Eater. What?
Tin's like, you're trained to be a con artist. Stop being nice. Come on, let's go talk about the finer points of Horn Eater accent. With that red hair of yours, you'll probably find more chances to use it than you would others. So there you go. That's the end of our chapters. I love boots. It's a great moment.
Yeah, you know.
Moving on to predicaments. We are doing 4 more chapters for next time. Episode after that is when we hit the end of part 2 and we get the interludes, and that one will be 7 chapters, I think.
Wow.
So yeah,
big lot chunk. Of interludes.
Yeah, there's 4 interludes and then 3 chapters. So the interludes are all relatively short though this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I figured if you assigned 7, they'd have to be.
So as we move into predicaments for next time, our 4 chapters. Chapter 29 is called Rule of Blood. Which, that's dramatic. Chapter 30 is called Nature Blushing. Chapter 31, The Stillness Before. And finally, chapter 32, The One Who Hates.
Neato.
So, what do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen? And as I said, remember, we're coming up on the end of part 2. There's usually something dramatic at the end of a part. Although I think the end of part 2 last time was Dalinar being like, I'm going to abdicate, which we thought was a little bit of an anticlimax. So maybe it won't be that dramatic.
Especially when he didn't wind up doing that anyway.
Just jokes, not really. It's very much another moment of, there was an assassination attempt, and then the first line, the king was fine. What's going to happen next? So, not really sure. I hope if we're looking at something that's a bit more dramatic, perhaps we at least get that messenger to Dalinar and possibly having him speak to Eshonai. I kind of hope that happens sooner rather than later. Like we're approaching the end of the first physical book in the 2 books, so I'm assuming we're getting somewhat closer to halfway. But I don't know how that will go. I think Adolin's right. This is really that opportunity that he's been looking for to change the war and change what's happening, and it's something he can't really control. So I hope that comes off sooner rather than later. Kaladin and Shallan, I hope we get that soon too. I think that's going to be fun. How it will really go, I don't know. It'll be interesting that he now has got not a relationship, but there's definitely some ground that he and Shallan can talk about when they're all back at the Shattered Plains. I wonder how interesting that will be, like for Adolin. Adolin's been betrothed. It's quite casual, of course, and not confirmed or anything, but Shallan and Kaladin talking a lot when Adolin's like, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to marry this girl, like go away. Bridge boy and princeling, and they already don't like each other, so
true.
Not that I'm expecting romantic things to come between Kaladin and Shallan, but we obviously know they've both got a lot going on in their lives and magically, I guess. So that will be fun to watch that unfold. Moash, we spoke about a little bit. I think it would be, after talking about it, I think it would be really interesting if he had the Shardblade. I think it would be really interesting even if he didn't have a Shardblade but was involved in the attempt. I think Kaladin's going to have to be careful for now. He may or may not be involved, but I expect that we'll start seeing just some things in his behavior. Obviously, we know that there's someone, Light Eyes, that he really wants revenge on. And if that was the king, that's kind of cool. But I think we were talking last time that maybe the king wasn't even actually the target there. Make it look like it's the target, but it's actually someone else, Dalinar or Adolin, or framing someone. I don't know. There's so much up in the air at the moment of what could happen and what is going on. And no firm predictions from me at this point. I think we're also coming up on that point where Shallan is getting close. She's going to have to tell the family that Yasna's dead, and that will be something to see for Navani, I guess. And perhaps, Kaladin will look at Shallan and go, well, you lied straight out to someone of authority. You can't really be trusted around the king. I don't want you here. But Shallan's that last link to Yasna for Navani and knowing what happened. So Navani may be the influential factor in keeping Shallan around or close by. And we're getting closer to our deadline. So, closer, but not as close as I thought. Didn't we start at like 60-something days and now it's 40-something days? For some reason I thought we were like halfway through our countdown, but not quite yet.
Got from 63 to 49.
Yeah, so we've still got a little bit of time up the sleeve. Regarding the titles of the chapters, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna leave those where they are.
Okay. I like the way that you phrased it, where it's like, I mean, Shallan and Kaladin will have something to talk about.
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to that. I think is what we've established here is that it should be an interesting meeting again whenever it happens. However it ends up going.
Yeah, I don't think either of them are going to be like too happy about it. They've not exactly started off a relationship on a good foot. My other thought's Tin. Yeah, I don't like her. I don't trust her. She could be just someone that they've effectively befriended and joined caravans, and this is how this is going to go. But it's going to come to a point where Shallan's like, look, I'm actually not a con artist in this. I'm here, and this is exactly where I need to be. But we look at Yasna, and Yasna had assassins like around. She knew she had them sort of in her pocket so that if anyone tried to assassinate other members of the family, like it would all be taken care of. So it wouldn't be the first person in this family to surround themselves with some shady people. And maybe, the intel that Tin would have would be useful. And Shallan already likes feeling like herself with her rather than having to, be important and reflecting a certain personality all the time. It's dangerous. I don't like her. I don't see Tin going away immediately. I don't even necessarily see it ending well, their relationship. I think there'll be sort of an underlying threat there. Even if they parted ways, she knows too much about Shallan and could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to picture like them just parting ways amicably or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, but it's just like the circumstances are hard for me to imagine.
Yeah, it sort of makes me think that maybe on some level she actually knows who she is, right? So she's gone back. Well, we know she knows who she is because she's used the span read to get information about her, and even down to the point where the father may or may not be alive. It's probably more than anyone else has uncovered at this point, and so you've kind of got something on Shallan as it is, which is dangerous. But then getting that close and learning more about her and what she's up to, and that could be, maybe they stumbled across each other by chance, but I think she's probably playing Shallan more than what she's going to let Shallan realize.
Well, I mean, we do know that she researched Shallan. I don't know that she believes that Shallan is Shallan still. So she was like, why would that person who's never even left their home estates be out here all of a sudden? Like, I don't think she buys it.
Yeah, she might buy it over time though.
It could be, depending on what Shallan lets slip.
Mm.
Or, I mean, if they get to the Shattered Plains together and Dalinar really is expecting Shallan Devar to show up, maybe Tin will figure it out.
Yeah, true.
It's like, wait a second, all that stuff you were telling me was true? Uh-oh.
You're a terrible con artist.
It turns out you didn't trick me at all.
You didn't trick me. I tricked me.
I'm the best con artist, actually.
Yeah.
I caught me.
You're not the. It's like, it's not you that's got me. It's me that's got me.
Even I laughed at me when I built this cross-species maternifuge, but I guess I showed myself.
Yeah. Yeah, the chapter titles I'm giving up. I don't know. They're too weird. Like none of them. There's always some reference to something in the chapter, a line spoken. It's very Jurassic Park. It's like, welcome to Jurassic Park. He said the line, the title of the movie. That's it. It's always in there somewhere.
I was just thinking, like, was Feather actually in the chapter? Because I don't even remember that now.
I don't either. But even if it was,
Yeah, it was Feather Stance or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, it's always in there somewhere. I assume it's gonna be in there. Maybe I don't know what the next perspective is going to be. I don't know. Who's on the list of perspectives for this section? I was about to say, I know
Milan,
that's jumping us
Kaladin,
back.
Adolin, and Sadius.
That's
Okay.
it.
We haven't got a Sadius one in a while, so I assume before the end of this part, we'll get another Sadius. So maybe that'll be in this next section of chapters. Who knows? So we've got that piece. I'm going to stick with my... Wouldn't it be ironic if Moash had done it? So I'm going to say Moash did it. I think it'll be funny if that's true. As for how he got a shard blade,
Simpsons.
yeah.
Let's
Simpsons
stick
did
with this Darkblade thing. It's cool.
Yeah, I do like the dark blade idea. That is cool. I think it's more likely that the myth is just a myth. Because like anybody who had access to Stormlights gets a glowy glow, right? So like the myth could come from the fact that all of the original shard blade wielders had access to Stormlight, right? So even if you were dark-eyed, if you were a Surgebinder, had access to Stormlight, it could possibly make your eyes glow. So that's going to be my assumption is where the myth came from. It came from that. Doesn't matter if you're dark-eyed, light-eyed, or whatever. But because those heroes of old their eyes glowed, it made people associate them with having light eyes, and then maybe helped the cause of light-eyed people being seen as above others.
Yeah, maybe that's why the Light Eyes are in charge today. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So I mean, that all kind of makes sense culturally. I feel like a trickle down of old. So if it's all BS, then Moash could have a shard blade. Now, why the heck he had this shard blade and was a bridgeman beyond me? I feel like unless if he's trying to kill El-Hokar, we don't really know what his motive is besides the fact that he doesn't like light-eyed people. And I mean, El-Hokar is the king of the light eyes, but that doesn't really lend itself to being a reason to kill him, I don't think. So there's got to be some kind of motive there we don't know about if it is Moash and Moash alone.
I mean, if you're going to kill them all, you got to start somewhere, I guess.
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like there are better people to start with. For example, like he's super into Dalinar, or was. I guess he's not anymore. Don't know what the deal is with that. But like Sadeas, obviously a piece of dirt. Like start with that guy.
Oh yeah, I totally would. If I was going around killing some light eyes.
If you're going around killing light eyes just for the sake of killing light eyes, I mean that's the one to start with, in my opinion.
We do know about Moash, at least according to him, that he is planning on killing someone. Like he has a person that he wants to kill. What he told Kaladin in the last book.
I guess I forgot about that. So I guess if he's got a person he wants to kill, it could be El-Hokar. I don't know what the motive is.
Yeah, like what could the king have done to some random dude? But yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Exactly. But also this random dude has a shard blade, so he's got to be somebody. Either that or he secretly took it off in a battle and then like never told anyone. And was annoyed when he didn't become light-eyed because the myth is wrong. He's like, wait, what happened to my eyes? Nothing. What?
That would be annoying.
So let's say that, let's just say he's going to kill El-Hokar for some reason. Again, don't know what that is. Don't know what his motive could be. Besides the fact that he said he wanted to kill somebody. Maybe it didn't matter to him who. Maybe he's just like, I want to kill one person. And no, I'm just kidding. So
just flip a coin and pick that one.
Yep, pick that one. I think in the next section, Shallan's going to arrive at the Shattered Plains. I think it's about that time, right? Like, in this same section, we saw Kaladin learning to ride, being told to do perimeter stuff, and then doing it and meeting up with Shallan, and they're only a day and a half away. I don't feel like we can really delay her arrival any longer. If there was some kind of event that was keeping her from arriving at the Shattered Plains, I feel like it would be kind of poor storytelling. It's like she's a day and a half away. Surely she's going to get there in the next few chapters. And so I'd be interested to see how that plays out, because like we've been talking about with Tin, like I don't know. I think it'd be more funny if Tin was like kind of went along with it, still thinking it was a con, and then eventually she just like confronts and like she basically moves into the role of being Shallan's servant, and then just like acts like later privately she's like, you weren't lying, were you? You really are Shallan Devar. And she's like, yeah, I really am. And she goes, huh, okay, whatever, I'll still stick around. I could see that happening. I don't think it should. I don't like Tin. I don't think she needs to hang around, but could happen.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have a lot. I feel like we're getting close to the end of a part, which again doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have like a big like thing happen, but a big thing could happen. So like, sure. I feel like we are on the cusp of something though. And maybe that cusp is being a third of the way through the book, but whatever it is, like I feel like we're on to something.
Fair. Okay. I like what the possibility you threw out, where maybe Tin does stick around and it happens like this. And I was like, you know what? That actually, I guess I could see that making sense too, because we don't know a lot about like Tin's motivations or history or anything at this point. So it's hard to predict how she would react to various.
And it sounds like she doesn't have a lot of prospects right now. She said she finished some job, but she didn't get paid. She hasn't heard anything about it. She doesn't know where the people who are doing the job with her are. Like, what does she have to lose? Because she was just with that caravan. Like, I don't think she had any other plans. So what does she have to lose with by sticking around with Shallan? I mean, I feel like she has nothing but possible gain. And if she is a con artist, she's going to recognize that. And
if Shallan provides her like connections to high up rich Light Eyes, then that's opportunity right there. That's a good point.
Right.
Okay. I also like that everyone's at this point is pretty much just like, I don't know what to make of these titles, of these chapter titles. I'm sorry. Like, what the hell does this crap mean? That's fair.
I'm just ready to read the chapter and then hear it and be like, oh, they said the name of the chapter.
Okay.
Title drop. Well, I was going to take a punt on the title chapters, so
go for it. I want to hear somebody do it.
That said, I need to preface this as I was putting my bookmarks in. The first two words of the next chapter's text are the perspective character's name. So I saw them. So I'm like, okay, well, I can say Rule of Blood. I kind of thought of it when I saw the title, but that's a Sadius chapter. Yep. So that'll be fun. We really had like half a Sadius chapter so far. So let's see into the head of the guy we love to hate. Nature blushing. I guess at some point Shallan's going to explain her drawing, maybe. I don't know. The stillness before, maybe that's a Shallan flashback. But the one I really want to take a punt on, the one who hates, that's got to be fucking Kaladin and Amaram. Like, we're coming up on the end of part 2, so let's see this reunion happening. It's like a remember me? Oh shit. Hell, maybe, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe Amaram is the assassin. At least this one. We know he has a shard blade. So
this is true, yeah.
Maybe Moash lowered him down a ladder or something. You know, Amaram, you know, they think he's buddy with Dalinar, but he works for Sadius, and maybe he's trying to, you know, play both sides or something. Who fucking knows?
Something, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I want that moment where everyone's like, you were right. Amaram is just a fucking piece of shit.
We need that moment. I agree. There you go.
Yeah. We've talked about the Moash thing before. I really don't have much to say because I was like, all right, we'll see how that plays out. So I got the two predictions I've got. One of them is just kind of on a character level. We've talked a lot about Navani reacting to the loss of Yasna, but we really haven't talked about how anyone else is going to do that. And now that Shallan is close to the plains, that's probably going to come out. Like, we think about this. Dalinar loved Yasna, and she saw him as an intellectual peer, so he's going to be devastated. Elhokar, I mean, I don't know what his relationship with his sister was, but like, he's going to have lost his sister. That's probably not going to be great for the guy, especially when he is terrified of assassins, and now his sister has apparently been killed by some, so it's going to mess with him. Good point. And Adolin and Renarin have lost their cousins, so you know what? There's probably going to be a period of mourning coming up. Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. But the big swing I'm going to take this week, I think Tin is behind the people who attacked Shallan and Yasna's boat.
Okay.
So because she talks about, her agents haven't returned from the south, and that's probably because they all drowned. And she mentions that, people tried to hire her for it. It's like, that could be ghost blood work. So she may or may not know who Shallan is. I think if she was out to get Yasna and Shallan was traveling with her, she might have that intel. So maybe she's trying to recruit Yasna's ward for info and to try and get confirmation of the job or something. I think their meeting was a coincidence, but Tin is an opportunist. I mean, we saw that with by the way, you're a Horn Eater now, surprise.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh my fucking God, I just ran into a survivor. Now I can try and get confirmation of what actually happened, where my guys are. Did we succeed? So I think, yeah, we could see something from that. And if she is, like I mentioned before, she could be Liss, Yasna's assassin from the prologue. There's got to be something there because, Yasna had a deal with her to always allow Yasna to make a counteroffer if an attempt on the royal family's life came up. So, if she is Liss, we got to see why that deal was rescinded.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If the two theories are true, then that would make a question. That's a good point. Especially, it's not just someone from the royal family. This is the person who made the deal with her.
Who made the deal? Yeah.
Yeah. That could be. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So I want to swing for the fences this week.
Oh man, that she would be playing like the deepest game if she knew who Shallan was, knew exactly why because if she knew Shallan was on the ship and she arranged the attack on the ship, then she knows exactly how Shallan Devar, this supposed shut in Yak Ved, ended up in the middle of nowhere heading for the Shattered Plains. If she knows that and yet she pulls out I don't believe you. What would that person be doing out here? That is a deep game that she's playing to pretend to be tricked by this person in order to trick them. That I like that. That's like some 3-step thinking.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out Tin's game, and and I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and this is where I came out.
Oh yeah, okay. That is some rabbit holing. I'll give that to you, but I like where you've ended up. Yeah, Sadeas, as Dak mentioned, is the title or the perspective at the beginning of the next chapter. The chapter starts off with Toril Sadeas. So there we go. We're all on the same page on the amount of information you have.
Yeah, it's the book is open, the end of the last chapter is on the left page and this chapter's on the right, and as I'm putting the bookmark in, my eyes drifted down. I just saw Toril Sadeas. I'm like, oh, here we go.
So, yep. Ooh, I like that you took a shot at the titles, and I like your idea for the one who hates, because there's a lot of hatred going on there, and it would be nice to see Kaladin vindicated in the eyes of Dalinar and whoever else by Amaram revealing himself to be garbage. So
yeah, well, I mean, whether or not that happens this chapter, who knows? But the confrontation between the two of them will have to be big. And it's one, we're coming up on the end of a part, so it seems like a good opportunity for it to be part of the climax. And 2, Amaram's got to the Shattered Plains a while ago, and we haven't really done anything with him since beyond Kaladin telling Dalinar about him. But we haven't actually seen Amaram do anything besides just be in the background a bit.
Yeah, so, he's chatting with Dalinar, and that's about as much as we see of him. Yeah.
Considering what a massive turning point that is for Kaladin, it's he hasn't really done much. Sure, we haven't had a Dalinar perspective to talk to him, but Adolin apparently is on good terms with him too. So it's they don't get a conversation.
And it might be interesting because if you'll recall, the end of part 1 was the reveal that Amaram had shown up.
Yeah,
and so it could we could have a parallel here, and if the end of part 2 had something to do with Amaram. So yeah, that's an interesting thought. All right, well those are our predicaments for next time. So anyone out there keeping score? There's no one keeping score. If I'm not doing it, I don't think any of you is taking the time. But if you are, you can mark down what they got right and what they got wrong, and I will be impressed. We got a couple new emails, and we have one new patron this week. And I think, let me see. No, these emails do not have any reviews attached. So get your patron thing ready, Joe, and we'll do the emails first. This one is from Rory, who we've heard from before, and the title is Finally Started the Way of Kings. Hey, Sanderlanche crew, I held off writing again until I felt I had more to say than Hey, I finally got to this book, and boy, I forgot a lot of it. Now that you guys have finished Warbreaker, I want to write in to say that I 100% agree with all of your thoughts about it. It's my least favorite of the Cosmere books, and considering the hype behind it, with most people calling it their favorite, I always thought I was one of the few that did not enjoy it. I found it to be way slower right up to the end when things start happening, and then it's over? I'll pause to say I don't hear that many people saying it's their favorite, but I have heard some people, so it was not a favorite on the show. Continuing, one question I had for you when you finished The Lost Metal was if you had any predicaments about what Era 3 is going to be about. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Kelsier turns into a villain figure and the rest of the Ghostbloods have to find a way to stop him, or if by the end Harmony/Discord basically makes Gadriel unlivable, given how Era 4 is supposed to be space age. So, any predictions about the Era 3 from people?
I thought he said we already did that.
I know he said that's a question that he had, was if you had predictions about what Era 3 is going to be like. Which we probably did discuss at the end of Lost Metal, but if you have any new ideas or something, feel free.
That was also a while ago.
It has been a little bit, yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Space agey could mean lots of things. The thing that honestly came to my mind was that maybe by that point all of his books will be more connected, and like interplanetary travel with like ships will be like a thing. So like even if you can't use the perpendicularities, you can travel between planets like physically on ships.
Fair enough.
Just imagine the import-export game if you do that.
Look at all the taxes you can levy, maybe.
Wait, is Era 3 space age? Or no, Era 3 was the Cold War-esque.
Yeah, one. the modern or like 1980s era. Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad. So Era 4, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like the only prediction I have is for Era 3 would just be like the war between the two continents and just what shape that would take. But I don't really have any idea. Also, because it's been a while since we read Lost Metal, and it's like trying to remember the details of it is just like, I need to go back and read them.
Wayne dies.
My predictions.
Spoiler. What about you, Jamie? Any thoughts on Era 3 of Mistborn?
I mean, I just said I would expect it to kind of pick up. Like, obviously, it would be some time. It's a different era, but to sort of pick up where we left off in terms of the Ghostbloods and what they're up to. And I think I would expect to see maybe a little bit more of the cultures. Like we obviously know the Ghostbloods are here on Roshar, so it's possible that we would see maybe a little bit more of a blend. I think Joe's onto something with Era 4 with the space age type thing, that interplanetary travel is going to be a lot more common, and so you would expect to see a lot of these cultures and stuff that we've learned about starting to mingle a bit more. But I think Era 3 would probably start leaning itself towards that and probably giving us a bit more of that crossover and possibly deepening a bunch of mysteries. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Continuing the email. I don't know what point you are up to now, so maybe Jamie's opinion hasn't changed, had a chance to change. But I'm curious to know if she still considers Elokar to be a, quote, responsible adult. That's how she described him in the first episode.
Of this book?
They say they just got to the Way of Kings, so I think probably the Way of Kings.
A responsible adult. I honestly don't remember saying that, but, there's a lot. It's been a long time.
It's been a time, yes.
I'll have to go back and listen to the first episode. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily irresponsible, but I think he's paranoid, and possibly leads him to make some poor decisions, but he hasn't done anything at the moment that I'm like, you're a complete idiot, or I don't trust you. There's stuff going on, but he's okay still.
I mean, faking his own assassination attempt was kind of a you're a complete idiot moment, I feel like, but...
Yeah, I think he kind of... I feel like he had the right motivation, but poor execution.
Okay.
So, yeah, he probably needed some advice, and I think that's probably where he is now. He probably just still needs some advice. Like, he shouldn't have been in this position of being king yet, and it's been thrust upon him a little early, and he's
that's true.
got some issues, and maybe he's just not quite there yet. Clearly someone's after him, or after people that are close to him that make it look like they're after him. A little bit of paranoia from him is probably acceptable.
True.
Does he go from 0 to 100 in how he feels? Yeah, probably. He could slow down a little bit, but yeah, he's okay. Responsible adult. Yeah. He just needs to make sure he's got some good people around him.
Don't we all? Really?
That's true. I could use an adultier adult than myself most of the time, so.
Fair. Okay. The email finishes up with, also, congrats to Joe for his own baby. Wasn't to the times next. Colo, P.S. Fasher, Crabs Ahoy, from Rory. And then in parentheses at the very bottom, also, Dak, you're awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for the congrats. He's almost 2 now. It's wild.
That is wild.
Wild times.
All right. The other email. This one says, greetings from the world of sometime.
Yep.
Hey again, Sanderlanchians. It is I, Sir Hambino. I finally caught up enough in the podcast reading of The Way of Kings to hear my email. The way my heart skipped when I heard my name. So glad y'all are so in touch with your community. Updates, I have finished The Way of Kings and am currently on Chapter 4 of Words of Radiance. Me and my friend are almost caught up to your crew and are so excited to continue rolling through the Stormlight Archive with you guys. Not sure how we're going to structure stuff as we are hauling tail to finish the rest of the Cosmere by November to read Book 5 fresh.
Oh, yeah. You guys are going to have to go way past us. Because
Yep.
once you catch up, like, you guys are going to zoom past us.
Yeah. To get done by the time the book comes out, it's going to be a slog a bit. I'm so thankful for this podcast and helping me and my friend both make connections as friends and help us identify connections in the Cosmere. Spoiler for Data, although I read it and I think it's fine. I was listening back to y'all talk about all the places Shadesmar was mentioned. We were both so shocked that we'd missed all the little references to the cognitive realm as Shadesmar. Also, we totally didn't catch Casey being in Elantris and the Lost Metal until you said it. I literally stopped short in Walmart and gasped so loud when I heard that one. Thanks again for all your work on the podcast. So there you go. Thank you. I'm glad that we've been able to help you catch some things. That's always fun. I love this idea. Somebody's listening to us in Walmart and you're like, yeah, this is Casey from Elantris. What? Oh my God. Oh my ad nauseam.
We don't have Walmart down here, but isn't this, like, from what I gather, people losing their shit in Walmart is not an irregular occurrence.
Interesting point. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, people talking to themselves, losing their shit. You know, it's a whole thing.
We'll move over to Patreon, where we have our new patron, Lindsay, at the ska level.
Lindsay, you're a pinnacle. You store determination.
Ooh, be all determined. Nice. So if anyone would like to send us an email, the Sanderlanch is, oh my God.
The Sanderlanch is.
Yeah, the email address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and Patreon, where I've been posting up my reactions to Dragonsteel Prime. By the time this episode comes out, it will have been up a week, but this coming Monday, I'm going to post up a poll to see if people want me to read the preview chapters of the next Stormlight book for our Patreon also, as those come out. So, yep, that's the kind of stuff that's on our Patreon. If you want to go check that out, feel free. It is the Sanderlanch podcast on Patreon. Easy enough to find. So remember, for next time, we're reading 4 more chapters. That's 29 through 32. For those of you following along, it's going to take us right up. There's 2 more chapters after that within part 2. So we're right up against the edge of that. And we are at the beginning of our next chapter. We are 32% of the way through this book. So we're right about a third of the way through the book as a whole. So it's been a pretty decent ways already. This is our 11th episode. No, this is our 10th episode. The next one will be the 11th in Words of Radiance. So we've been going at this one longer than some books that we've read already. So that's Stormlight for you, I guess. Alloy of Law was 9 episodes. So yes, if you're following along, 4 more episodes for next time, and we're almost a third of the way through the book. So music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy. Chips ahoy.
Amnesia, you forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.